Hey, y'all. This is Mecca.
And
welcome to IG. You. I can't. We together on this red carpet again. There's something about Women's History Month. Because we've been doing our thing, meeting up here together for the whole month of March, which is an awesome thing. And speaking of the word together and togetherness, brings me back to something that we touched on last week when we were just talking about, sisterhood and, being there for each other and, things of that nature. And then we even got into the conversation of, complexions and color, and you're this color and you're that color and I'm better because I'm this color type of thing. So I thought it was so awesome when Nessa, my little sister, she actually tagged me in a post about, Rashida Strober, and I was just like, wow, when I saw what she stood for, of course, we have these kind of conversations all the time. So when I saw that, I was just like, wow, this is awesome. We really need to reach out to her. So it was just a wonderful thing, and it worked so on time, to have her on. It's just going to be a blessing, so I can't wait until we can open a line and let her speak about the issue of darker-skinned women,
Yes, and it's such an awesome way to end off our Women's Month as well.
Exactly. And it's just, so many things that crossed my mind. I know when I was promoting this, I had, I tagged you in it, but I was mentioning how, you were saying what your childhood friend said to you that, I don't think dark-skinned people are pretty or whatever. And it's just like, what's that to say to your dark-skinned friend? It's just so many layers of it. And, people can be so insensitive because that's like saying, well, I like you as a friend, but I think you're ugly. It's just
basically that's what she said in a nutshell. And
and it's go ahead.
Like I said, that was the point that showed me that she was not my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to intentionally hurt your friend.
Right. So yeah, it's it's just a lot. And I was talking yesterday on the phone, and I was just saying how Bree, who I meant to have her on, my niece, our niece, how, she's so stuck on, her skin tone. And she's nowhere near as dark as us. She's brown. It's not like she's the light skinned sister. She's the brown skinned sister, and she has a problem with that. And and she's 15 now. And these are things that we were talking about at 12 and 13 years old. Walking down the street in the hot sun, and we got to get out the sun. I don't want to get any darker. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? And I had to ask her. I said, well, Bree, what do you think that says about me? What do you think that says about your father, my brother, grandma, And then I asked her, I said, would you say that if you was your sister's complexion? And she said no. And I was just like, wow. Who said this to her? Because how we are. We always try to do nothing else but uplift and inspire, especially the younger girls in our family. And I'm just sitting here like, is she kidding me?
Wow.
So it's just, it's just a lot. And I can go on days. We can go on for days. I've been thinking about one of my former after school students who actually just graduated with her associate's degree. And I remember when she was a freshman and in high school, and I remember we were walking back to the after school program, and I was walking with the kids. And an older lady, maybe like in her late 50s, she looked at me and she said, "That's a pretty black lady." And I knew that what she was saying is that my skin was pretty. My complexion was pretty. I got what she was trying to say. And I looked at her and I said thank you or whatever. And I remember hearing my student underneath her breath say, I wish that was me. And in my head, I was like, wow, that's one of the students that everybody always would say that we look alike, even though we didn't think so. But I was just like, wow, so it's just so many layers to this. And, I didn't even know that there was a such thing or such person, I'll say, as the dark-skinned activist. So I'm in love with that idea because she stands for a lot of the things that we stand for. So it was just awesome to be able to converse with her via inbox, and she had the time just that quick to be on tonight. So I'm excited, and I before I even get a chance to talk to her, we get a chance to talk to her. It's like I could see us doing so much more with her just because she really stands for the kind of things that we stand for. So I'm happy about that. Very, very happy about that.
Completely awesome. It's amazing because it's like, all the things that we would always brainstorm about and talk about, and the fact of how we're meeting these people.
Absolutely.
And the fact that they're so willing. It's like a puzzle coming together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was certainly meant to be, certainly meant to be. This is not for naught. And I'm just extremely happy to know that there's someone out there that's like-minded, with us, someone out there who, we might uplift and inspire in any area, but I think more importantly, as dark-skinned women, as women who, walk around with our heads held high, that's a wonderful thing as well, because that alone, I don't know about that, that alone is a testament to other people who don't walk around with their head held high. I was going to say can't, but I'm not going to say can't. I'm going to say who don't. Because they've been teased, because they've been badgered. Not everybody can go through something all of their lives and be okay with it, and so I believe that it takes for a number of people who have probably been badgered as well that can say, oh, I'm good. And matter of fact, I'm great. And guess what? You're just as good. You might be even better. You understand? You're just as beautiful as I am, or whatever the case may be. So we all have our purpose, and even the people who are, I guess you can say, who've been affected the most in the most negative way, to the point where they've kind of thrown in a towel on even wanting to look in a mirror. I met a lady recently who said she didn't even like to look in the mirror. I'm like, what? Wow. You better look in that mirror and embrace everything that you are, not everything that people say. Everything that you are, but sometimes I guess you believe that you are what people say after you hear it so many times.
Definitely. You know what I think people should do? I think people should make a list of things that they like about themselves. It can be a smile, it can be your eyebrows, it can be anything. But try to do that at least once a week. Find something else that you like about yourself. It's it's all about self-love. It's all about self-love. And also, we have to stop looking to music videos, because all that stuff is fake. All these reality shows, it's just so manufactured. Everything. Nothing is natural anymore. You can't define your beauty by someone else's, neither.
Absolutely. It's funny you would say that, because when I went to see Granny today.
Today's my grandma's 80th birthday. Everybody give me a
right.
shout out.
That's right. Happy birthday, Granny. Looking beautiful. Her skin is just beautiful and flawless. But when I went to see her today, we were talking about my weight gain. And how the family is, we, laughing, making little jokes and stuff like that. But at a point, I think it was Jay. We were kind of joking because Granny had her little birthday cake and everything, so they was like, "Oh, we never give Monique another birthday cake because she's trying to make sure she keep losing weight." So we were kind of like laughing at that. But I began to tell him, I said, losing the weight was never about my self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Never. At one point, because if it had been about my self-esteem, guess who would have lost that weight?
ASAP.
12 years ago when I gained it. You understand what I'm saying? So it was never about that. I never looked at myself any differently. I just know that it's unhealthy to be this heavy. So I had to do what's right for me. And the same thing with the skin tone thing. Being who you are is never, one of those things where you should look at it like, well, I have to change who I am, or I have to lighten up my skin, or I have to do all these different things because of what people say.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind what people say. Look in that mirror and look at you for the beautiful person that you are, So I think that's more than important, but people become conditioned, and it's difficult to uncondition. And this is why I'm also glad that we have Rashida on today as well, because I know, she talks about condition, and how people were taught to believe a certain way. And it all goes back to, like I say, even with slavery, how slaves still slaves, two different kind of slaves, but you're both slaves.
Thank you.
You understand what I'm saying? So,
right.
I'm outside and you inside, but you still a slave.
Yeah.
And when people down each other because of color, skin tones, and all of that kind of stuff, you're a slave. You still a slave.
Mhm.
That's the thing that's so deep. You still a slave.
And it's just crazy to know that this is the year 2017 and we're still having conversations about color. It's just beyond me. It's like we're supposed to be so past this now. That's the great thing about us black people. We come in all shades. Think about it. I hate to go here, but a white person, they all look the same. One might be paler, one might be redder, but basically they just white. We come in all caramel, chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, we're just beautiful. And think about it. I will never forget. This was my first experience, like really being around a white person, my first real job. And this girl was so fascinated with my color. And but she wasn't doing it in a mean way. Like she really was amazed. And she would wear like powder, foundation, like the color that I would wear to make herself like and she was a beautiful girl. Her name was Melanie. I'll never forget. And it would look like she had a tan when she would use the makeup. And it's just like, they go and they get tans. We don't have to do that. How often do you?
I tell people all the time. I said a tan. I don't get tan. I just get darker, and I ain't mad at it either.
No. My only thing is that I wish I can be all one color.
Well, I ain't even. If I get on that one, that'll be a whole nother story.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? I think I am going to share that really quickly. That I have been battling a disease since I was about 18, right, sis?
Mhm.
Before I was diagnosed with polycystic ovaries. Now, what people don't understand is when I say polycystic ovaries, people always say, "Oh, you have a cyst on your ovary, or a cyst or two, or a cyst or three." No, polycystic ovaries, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Does not make sense to have them removed. They automatically grow back. Caused me a whole bunch of pain and a whole bunch of suffering for a lot of years. But one of the effects of it is that it can damage your skin tone. So I've been walking around since I was a teenager with two different complexions, because it started probably my late teens. It started to take a toll on my skin tone. Now I'm already dark. I've always been dark. I'm always going to be dark. But now darker. So people who have met me since I was an adult haven't even met the person that because of what's been happening to my skin. So finally on my face, it's becoming all one tone, and it's all a very dark tone, but probably my arms are probably the closest to my natural complexion. But when I tell you, I would like it to be fixed because I would like to be even toned because, who wants to walk around with, blotchy skin or whatever the case may be. But it was never a thing of, oh, my gosh, I don't want to be this dark. Never. And I don't know if you remember when we were kids, teenagers, and this is when this first started happening to my skin, and we were experimenting with makeup. And we went to the store, and we went to get our makeup done, and I was like, wow, I wonder what it would look like on my skin if they take foundation and make me all one complexion and make me all the darker skin complexion, and they did it. I don't know if you remember that. We went to the mall.
I remember the lady. No. Is that the same time that we was in, I think it was Macy's, and the lady had told us about something else that'll clear up your skin?
We went to get our skin done, our makeup done, and I was like,
yes.
well,
in the A&S mall, I remember.
Yes, and I was like, well, this is what's going on with my skin, and I would like for you to take the lighter brown, which was my natural complexion, and make it darker so that I can be all of the darker color that was on my skin, and it came out really beautiful. And like I said, yes, I would like my skin back because I know that this is a contribution of the illness. But for me to ever say that I've looked in the mirror and said, "Oh, I'm just too black now," never, ever. And I thank God for that because people suffer every day. Somebody would not have been able to be okay with that.
No.
If I'm not okay with it, it's because of the illness, not because now my skin is darker. Okay, and it's darker. What I do realize and what I do understand is people like me, people like Rashida, people like yourself who can confidently say, okay, I know that I'm still beautiful no matter what anybody else says. That's what's going to be the fuel to someone else's fire who has been ridiculed so much till they think that they're just ugly or they're not worthy, But now it's a thing of getting, I guess, other people to look at it the same way because we are discriminated against. But I've been chatting a little bit with Rashida on Facebook, and I know she is like, if they don't stop and let me have a word, it's dry. Rashida, we sorry, but, we do meet on this red carpet first, and we have our little chat, but we had to make sure that we saw you. We are so glad to have you. She is the dark-skinned activist, y'all. I hope y'all ready for this. I hope you all are ready for this treat. So, without further ado,
like we do every week at this time.
Thank you for calling, and welcome to the VIP Red Carpet Testimonial, where everyone on the line is a VIP through trial and triumph. Before we get started, we'd like to give you a few red carpet rules. Please keep your phone on mute when you're not speaking. Please lounge in the VIP area while others are speaking to avoid speaking over each other. And please, no tea spilling on the red carpet, as we want to keep our VIP area litter-free of judgment toward one another. Let's get it started.
Thanks for joining the VIP Red Carpet Testimonials with Unique and Meta.
Let's get it started.
Hello. Rashida.
Hello, how y'all doing?
We are great.
How y'all doing?
We are so excited to have you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me here. I'm really, really, really happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh man, it means so much for you to be here. When I tell you, when I found out what you were about, I said, this is a lady. I said, wait till I tell my sister, this is a lady after my own heart, after her own heart. And it's not very often that you hear about people like this. You know, people who just embrace the dark skin that they're in, people who care about others who don't embrace the dark skin that they're in, you know. So it was just like, oh, no, let me reach out to her right now. And what's funnier is that we had gone, no, it's a pleasure. It was funny is that we had gone through our whole month of, you know, celebrating women, and we had gotten toward the end, and we were like, okay, well, what do we do? Like, how do we end off our celebration of women's history, you know? And I truly believe that as long as we have breath in us, we're making history. So tomorrow we will have made history on Thursday because tomorrow is Friday. You know what I mean? So whatever we did to help someone on the day before, you know, so we don't have to always look at Harriet Tubman and I'm not saying forget them by any means, but I'm saying, you know, in celebrating women's history, we wanted to make sure that we could celebrate women who are with us now, still living and breathing. And like I said, on Friday, you have created some history if you was here on Thursday. We wanted to celebrate those women. So when we found you, it was like, this is the perfect way to end off celebrating women's history. So,
oh my God, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh, definitely. I have so much to say to you. I'm looking at my notes. I don't even know where to start. Oh my goodness. 1998 speech contest. Alek Wek, who is beautiful.
Yes.
By the way. Okay?
Yes.
Please tell our audience about that whole beautiful ordeal.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I grew up and underwent what I call dark skin mental abuse in my family. And so from the time that I could understand that there was something wrong in terms of the treatment that I received as a dark skin person versus the treatment, the favoritism that I saw the non-dark skinned members of my family receive, I knew it was something wrong. And so that pretty much spurred me to try to figure it out. I became literally obsessed with what is going on here. I know this has something to do with my dark skin, but why? It was always the question. So from there, I started to just pay attention to everything that had to do with dark skin and the way that people were treated. But I would do it in a way that I wouldn't speak about it. It was quiet because, as you all know, it's if you speak out about being dark skinned and the different treatment, people will call you a hater. They'll say you're jealous, and I've gone through all of that. I'm so over it. Like, I've been through the fire already, so I'm well past that. But I went through all of those things, and I kept quiet for a long time. But then I got to a point where I was in a store one day, and this was like back in 1998, and I saw Alek Wek's the magazine. I still got the magazine. I've shown it on my videos a lot of Alek Wek in an all-white outfit, really dark skin, her hair shaved off, and she was black as I don't know what. Black as hell. And I'm saying this in a good way. Please don't misunderstand me. And I was in awe. I could not believe it. So I got that magazine. I didn't have a lot of money because I was an undergraduate student at the time. Got that magazine and bought it. And I said, I'm keeping this magazine for forever. And then I started doing some research into who she was, and I said, man, this girl is going through exactly what I'm going through with this, what I now call darkism, this dark-skinned mental abuse. And at the time, there was a speech/lecture contest going on at St. P. College because it was African American History Month, and it was in celebration of Harambe. And I said, you know what, I'm tired of this, because I had looked for people. Hold on one moment. My daughter is here. I got to tell her can you cut that down a little bit, Lauren? Just a little bit so Mommy can hear. Thank you, darling. So what happened was I was looking for someone to do what I'm doing right now. I looked and searched long and hard. Let me tell you, there was no dark-skinned activist back in 1998, because if it was one, I would have grabbed them by the hand and said, come on, you better sit down and counsel me. They were not there. So what I decided to do is be the change that I was looking for. And I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to speak out on this. I'm not going to hold back on it. I'm not going to keep suffering in silence as a dark-skinned woman that has been ill-treated in my family. I see the inequality going on. I never called it out. I'm speaking on this, and that's exactly what I did. And that, in 1998, giving that lecture on Alek Wek, talking about black people and how they were speaking badly about her and how she wasn't the representation of what, that's what I remember most. They were saying that she was not the representation of what a black woman should look like. They were saying she was ugly, she was manly, it was just terrible. And I spoke out about it. And long story short, ended up winning that speech contest. My aunt was there, and my son had been born that year, and we went out to eat and celebrate. And I remember after giving the speech about it, the people, and I hate to say this, but I just got to tell the truth, the black males in the audience were mad. A lot of them were mad at me, and they were looking at me like, well, what is she talking about? Like, it's like the big elephant in the room that no one wants to discuss, and it's like, how dare you talk about this? And once I got over that hump, that was the birth of dark skin activism. And I just kept going from there and started, I've written about 5 books, 2 plays, actually 3. I tore lectures, all this stuff surrounding dark skin activism because I was just sick and tired of it. And shortly after that, I got to say this, I can never do an interview and not mention this person. Shortly after that, I ran into the work of the mother of the dark skin movement, a woman named Kola. And I could not believe what I saw. This lady was speaking specifically on dark skin beauty inequality. I mean, she was not relenting because people would tell me, why are you talking about dark skin? You should be talking about all black people. I cannot tell you how many times I heard that. And this person, I was like, whoa. She was taking hits back in the 90s. It was like amazing. So that, in a nutshell, is the birth of dark skin activism.
Wow,
amazing! Oh my goodness.
I'm not surprised that you got the backlash on the why would you talk about black skin today, dark skin rather. Today, I think about 2 things when you said that. One was I was in Vegas over the last year in the summertime, and I had taken a picture of myself at the pool. And when I say that my skin, I got on black socks. When I say my skin was almost a replica of my socks in that picture, but to me, it just looked so beautiful. And I remember, and that's not being vain or conceited or anything, I just really like how dark my skin looked. And I remember talking about that particular picture on Facebook, and, a few people, made comments or whatever the case may be. And one of my friends, began to kind of compare and contrast, and not in a negative way. And I said to her, you can identify with being a black woman and some of the things that we go through as black women, but you cannot identify what I'm talking about right here as it pertains to my complexion and your complexion. You don't have a clue. You didn't have to go through. Right. So I already have to contend with the fact that I'm a black woman. And not only am I a black woman, I'm a black dark-skinned woman. And I think I talked about that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Unique, I had mentioned that on my last Miss Mecca Answers Live. I think I kind of mentioned that. That was one thing. And then, the other thing is today I was thinking about how, the whole Black Lives Matter and how people were like, oh, well, all lives matter. And I get that. All lives do matter. However, at the end of the day, when it's black lives that are continually being slaughtered, if that's what's happening, why do people have a problem with the term Black Lives Matter and the whole movement? So again, for me, it's the same thing. You're not the one being ridiculed when you're 5 or 6 shades lighter than me. And I'm not saying that you don't go through what you go through, but you're not the one being ridiculed. So I had to be a little bit controversial on Facebook and say, something to the effect of, is it a problem if I say dark girls rock, would that be a problem? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I get it. And even the fact that you had to say when you were explaining how beautiful and dark Alek Wek's skin was, and you made reference to it being black as something. I have to go back and listen because but the fact that we even have to go back and explain, I don't mean that as an insult, because people look at things like that as an insult so much because we've not embraced,
right.
You know what I mean, that being that dark is okay. And when you describe dark skin as being as black as something, there's always a negative connotation after it. So when we say it, and we say it because we're trying to say that it's beautiful, people think that we really, well, why would you say it's black? Why would you say that your skin looks as black as your black socks? Well, what's wrong with that? But so many people have made something wrong with it. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Right.
Whew, wow. I could go on for days on stuff like this. Campaign. You use the word campaign. And my question about using the word campaign and all that you do with this movement, when we think campaign, we think people or someone trying to sway a group of people to share their same opinion. How is it that you're able to do that? What are some of the testimonies that have come from your campaign, from you being able to sway people that, hey, guess what? This is a beautiful thing to be this dark. How has that been for you?
Wow, that's an amazing question. Over the years, one example is I just met with a longtime fan that's been following me. He contacted me on my World's First Dark Skin Activist Facebook page, and he's been trying to get a hold of my books, and he happens to live in the area, the St. Petersburg, Tampa area, and he contacted me, and we finally met up, and he was just telling me, like, oh, my God, we talked for about a good 3 hours, maybe 4 total, and one of the things that was striking that he said to me was that it was because of me that he went back to his dark-skinned wife. This is a black man that said this. I was literally in shock. He's not the first one. There's others that have actually contacted me. I remember a couple of years ago, probably about 2 years ago, there was a light-skinned black man who emailed me, and his headline said, I'm guilty. I was like, whoa. And he goes on to tell me about how he, as a light-skinned black, not generalizing, but this particular light-skinned man, he said he was guilty of dark-skinned mental abuse against his dark-skinned girlfriend. When he got mad at her, he said he would call her names. I actually posted this email that he sent to me. I had posted it on Facebook. I, of course, did not say his name, but he went on to talk about how he used to call her black and ugly and all kinds of names associated with being dark-skinned to get under her skin and make her angry. And he was just telling me he was guilty of the things of the darkism that I was speaking about in my videos, and that he apologized to me. He was saying, so, I mean, over the years, I have gotten like so many people that have come to me with their stories in regards to darkism, and how the campaign has changed their life or impacted their life. And so, I mean, it's just loaded. Like, I might be here all night talking about the emails I get and the Facebook messages I get. I just got a message today. I'm not going to say too much about it, but a sister told me that her mother didn't like her because she was dark-skinned, and then she wound up being adopted by a non-black person who couldn't handle her hair, and they shaved off all her hair. I hear stories like this all the time. It's crazy. So it lets me know that the campaign, as well as that's people's personal experience and my personal experience, but this is something that people really need to understand, and this is what I understood early on. The colorism scholarly research indicates that there is a need for a dark-skinned activist. I mean, you can't dispute it. If anyone takes the time, which I have, I've studied extensively the colorism scholarly research. That is one thing that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it pretty much dictates what I do. Because the research is showing that, hey, this is what is going on in terms of people's life chances regarding darkism. Some people say colorism. I call it darkism. And so I looked at these things and I said, wait a minute. There's no dark-skinned savior. There's no one speaking on this. Shout out to Kola Booth. She was the only other person. But I said, I got to do something about it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start talking about it. And I've taken some hits. But you know, it is what it is. This is what I do. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Wow. You speaking your truth. How can anyone get mad at that? I wanted to ask you about the verbal abuse that you received from your family. Was it like your mom, or was it siblings, or who was it?
Well, first, right. It was verbal and nonverbal abuse that was going on. I do want to say my father was a wonderful dark-skinned black man. I did not grow up in his household because my mom and him did not get married, but he always praised me, and that's probably one of the reasons why I love black men to this day, because he set such a good example, even though I wasn't raised in the household. But within my family, I live with my mom. I grew up with 5 brothers. I had a non-dark-skinned cousin who was treated like a queen. I saw the privileges. I saw,
I like that, non-dark skin.
Yeah, she's non-dark. You know, my non-dark skinned cousin who had quote unquote good hair, long good hair, quote unquote Indian looking textured skin. You know, but it was bright skin, and so everybody praised that. And that came with privileges that I saw with my own eyes. And so my grandmother, for example, God rest her dead, she would say all kinds of negative things about me. She did not spend the same amount of time that she spent with my this other particular I mean, it was just you could clearly just see the difference. She wouldn't even talk to me. You know, it wasn't until the end of her life that, you know, she was in a nursing home right up the street from me. And my brother, who she had raised, he said, could you go down there and check on? I'm like, sure. I went down there every day, made sure she was all right. I have a background in nursing and taking care of kids. I like to help people and take care of people. So I went down there and made sure, fed her, made sure she was taken care of. And she would hold my hand, and she didn't want me to leave. So, you know, and then I had people in my family that would go on and on. This is something that black people love to do if they have a person that's Indian in their family. So my great-grandmother was a full-blooded Indian, and I had this one particular person in my family that would make it a point to tell me that this person, that's their grandmother, and she's beautiful. She has this long hair. I have Indian in my family, and she would make it a point to speak out about that so as to say, I'm a little bit better. My hair is a little bit better. My skin tone is a little bit better because my grandmother, which was the woman was my great grandmother, was a full-blooded Indian. And you know, I would notice people would talk about my facial features and say I look manly. But when I looked at the facial features, because this particular person has a picture of my great grandmother who's a full-blooded Indian, and I looked and I said, wow, she has high cheekbones just like me. A big nose, just like me, a big pointy nose. But yeah, and she has long hair. She's considered to be beautiful while I'm with my regular kinky Afrocentric natural hair and my regular dark skin tone. I'm considered ugly and manly looking. So, you know, and then I had brothers, I'm not going to say their names. I ain't going to put them on blast like that. But that would tell me, you got to get pretty. I can't take you nowhere because you got to get pretty. Or I would see them give privileges like money or candy, or just treat my non-dark-skinned relative better than me because she's non-dark with good hair. And so over time, I kept seeing this stuff over and over again, and I kind of just like went into myself and became somewhat of an introvert. And I think sometimes dark-skinned people might become introverted because of the way that they're treated. Not necessarily because they are natural introverts. It's just because, okay, you see this person is getting treated better than me. And it's like, if you're a kid, it's like really nothing you could do to stop it, but you know it's going on. So you kind of just move out the way because you know that this person is the favorite. I was told that I remember at the age of, I think I was around 14, at a family gathering. I was told by a non-dark-skinned family member of mine, and I don't know where it came from till this day, that I was jealous of another non-dark-skinned family member of hers. And this person just walked past in the house, and this person just told me, I wrote about this in my book, Darkism, that I was jealous of her. You assume that I'm jealous of this person, and I've given you no reason to assume that, but you make this assumption because I'm dark-skinned and this person is non-dark-skinned. So things like this just occurred over a period of time. I remember, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, but it just popped up in my head. I remember I went on a visit to Georgia, where my grandmother was from, with some other family members of mine. And the same thing happened with the favoritism. I could see it there. It was clear. And I remember this dark-skinned young lady walked up to the porch, or she walked by the porch, and my grandmother lived in the country, Pelham, Georgia. And she said, I'll never forget, she said my brother who lived with her, one of my brothers who lived with her, she said something to the effect of him she likes my brother, but my brother was not really into her. And then she said, she's so dark. All these things, to me, it equates to darkism, dark-skinned mental abuse. And if you grow up and you keep hearing this stuff over and over again, you internalize it. And people say, well, why do dark-skinned women have attitudes? You got to understand, we don't really have attitudes. It's a lot of hurt and pain going on there. You know what I'm saying? That we haven't dealt with because the society will not allow us to deal with it, in a constructive way without them saying, oh, this person is jealous. Or she just hating, or she just want to be. No, it's not that. But I said I'm breaking out of it. I'm the dark-skinned activist. I don't care if you like what I have to say or not. I'm saying it. If it makes you uncomfortable, good, great. You should be uncomfortable. Let's deal with it.
That's right.
So,
wow, wow. So did you ever confront anyone in your family and let them know this is hurting me?
That's a great question. As a child and as a young adult, I never did. What I did do, as I started to engage in the work of dark-skinned activism, my family members, some of these same family members, they have actually attended lectures. They've attended my plays. And so even though I haven't directly said it to them, they know, because they see that this is the work that has been going on for so long. And I was just about to say who this person is, but this one person in my family, I would just go on and on about dark skin issues. And she would get so mad at me to the point that she was kicking me out of her house. But she gave me some great advice. She said, I'm sick of you talking about this stuff. Why don't you go talk to other people? And that's what I decided to do. That's one of the reasons why I decided to bring dark skin activism to the internet. I'm on the Dark Skin Activist Tour because of her not wanting it. Partly she just got tired of me talking about it, and partly she knew that she had some guilt. She was guilty of darkism in a sense, and she was like, I'm just tired of you talking about this. Go tell somebody else this stuff. Thank you. That's what I did.
Yes.
So, yes.
As I was listening to you speak, it made me think of the Spike Lee movie School Days. Remember the Jigaboos and the oh my goodness. Mecca, help me out. The Jigaboos and the Wannabes.
The Jigaboos and the I can't think of the other name. I'm sorry.
It was Wannabes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Right.
Yeah,
it was. Let me tell you something. You know what always stuck out to me? The word fair. Fair means just, right? And in that particular, one of those songs, in the School Day songs, is talking about good or bad hair, whether you're dark, or you're fair. And I always have a problem with words, because if fair is just and light skin is supposed to be fair skin, so that means that's the just skin and dark skin is unjust. Like I pay attention to little things like that. you know, and then the whole
Right.
good hair, bad hair thing. Well, is your hair healthy?
Yeah.
Because if you got a whole bunch of split ends, I don't care how many curls you have, I don't care how much you can dip your brush in water and get waves. If it's split ends all over the place, you got bad hair. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just like those little words and, you know, those kind of things that play a deep-rooted mental game on your mind. And you have to be careful, you know, the kind of what words you use. You know, you ain't never going to hear me say fair skin about nobody. Because if your skin is fair, mine is fair too, because ain't nothing unjust about this darkness. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even the word darkness. Use darkness means negative.
Right.
You know, so it's
right.
just, I mean, it's just so many angles, you know, and the conditioning. We're taught that, you know, we were taught that word growing up. That's what you heard. It was fair skin. So nobody really looks into the deep-rooted, you know, context of even words that we use to describe things. It's, Rashida, you done bumped into the wrong too, because Rashida, we can go for days on this type of stuff. And I mean, I have to commend you because, like you said, you had to be the change that you wanted to be. And that's a big, bold move because a lot of people would be, you know, a little bit or a lot of it afraid or ashamed because when you put yourself out there about a specific thing that you feel passionately about, you also put yourself out there to be ridiculed all the more. You know, so, whew, girl, I commend you.
Yes, I do too.
Definitely.
I take my hats off to you. And I heard you mention earlier, you know, you have a daughter. She's looking at you. You're inspiring her, you know. Everything that you needed to have when you were growing up, you're able to give that to her.
Right.
Exactly. And speaking of bold moves, and then we want to get into, you know, while we have the time that we have, I want to get into one thing, and then I guess, you know, we can open up the line if somebody wants to listen in. I hear one of our faithful listeners, I hear Heather Shack is in the house, so we want to give Heather a shout-out real quick. She said she was listening. That she was listening, so definitely want to give her a shout-out. Welcome back to the VIP, Heather.
Yes. I want to say something else. I want to say something real quick since we had one of our faithful listeners. I also wanted to mention Julia. She's been on our show, and what made me think of Julia because she is a beautiful dark-skinned woman, and we got a chance to meet her a couple of months ago while we were in L.A. for Any Week, and she a low cut and is blonde.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely beautiful. And I said to her, I'm like, Julia, you know, I always wanted to try blonde, but I thought I was too dark to do it. And looking at you, you showed me that I can rock it too. So
all right now.
I love to see that because you know how, you know, sometimes there's a stigma. Oh, a black girl can't wear blue eyeshadow or, you know, you can't do all these funky, jazzy things. And it's like, yes, we can.
Right.
It's all about how you rock it, and it's all about your confidence.
Absolutely. And she rocked it, okay? So we want to give Julia a shout-out because she rocks it. She rocked it so bad that when we got to L.A., she happened to be staying in the same hotel with one of the members from Earth, Wind, and Fire, and he had to stop her, like, hello, because you look real fly.
Wow.
I'm going to need you to know that. You dipped in all this chocolate, and you got that blonde, low cut like a Caesar, and you're doing it. You know, so, yeah, I remember that. But
excuse my
that's right. That's right. And then she's beautiful inside. Such a warm, such a warm person. So, hey, Julia, if you are there, I know she says she definitely wants to be in on this particular one. But before we open up the line, and we know that you got to go in like 16 minutes, we promise. I know you said you had until 8:30.
Girl, wait. You said that you stayed on the phone with that guy for 3 hours. We can have you on the phone for 5, but we ain't gonna go there. We'll catch you another time.
Definitely. I know. I definitely would like to spend a longer time talking about this. Definitely.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? Guess what? We always doing something, so you definitely welcome back. And anybody who we say welcome to come back, they come back. So we don't forget about you.
Thank you.
Definitely. And you should be in New York soon. You just missed Unique because I told you Unique was in Georgia. She had her play in Georgia. She's also a playwright. This is how serious she is about this. She's a dark-skinned woman's revenge, 5 different dark-skinned characters. Oh, yeah, I've been doing my homework. Okay? Yes, I have. But I'm not going to tell her. I'm not going to tell her. All I know is when she gets to New York, I need to be there because I know I can identify with one of those 5, maybe 3 of those 5. Who knows?
Oh, my
God. But
I'm working on the venue right now as we speak. I've been in contact with a poets cafe and then a bookstore up in Harlem. So I'm working on seeing who's going to solidify the deal first. And as soon as I know, I'm always on social media. I will be letting everybody know I'm going to be here on XY date. So, yeah, I'm working on it.
You make sure that as soon I'm in Harlem every day. I teach in Harlem. And I'm from Manhattan, as is Unique from Harlem. But nonetheless, make sure that we do know because once you know where, we want to make sure that we also make sure, everybody in New York that we possibly know knows. So we want to put it on our pages. We want to share it on Instagram. So when you get that solidified, please let us know. Now, back to my comment because I know you got to go through. No problem. Controversy. This is probably one of the most controversial topics, and controversy is not something that we shy away from. We always talk about stuff that people want to sweep under the rug. So since we're on that word, there's a conscious rapper who you kind of went a little back and forth with. I don't know, directly or indirectly or however, but I would like you to share that particular, exactly what happened just so, people know. I'm not just hiding behind a big old house and saying what I have to say. I'm saying it.
No, right. I understand. No problem. Yeah. Well, let me explain how that came about. First thing I want to say is in this walk with dark skin activism, a part of it has been because I love black men. I love black men with all my heart and soul, and I recognize that some of our men, they basically have discriminated against dark-skinned black women, and they've done it. They're going to say that some of them are going to say they have not. It's all in my head, but they have. A lot of them have. And so, as a part of dark-skinned activism,
and
one
they
of the goals
about their mamas. Sorry. I'm
sorry,
but I had to say that. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go right ahead.
Because you know what? And I know somebody's going to come for me about that one, but it's the truth. Because most of their mamas don't look like none of them people that you, or your grandmother, or your whoever that helped raise you. Somewhere down the line, you are in existence because of that dark-skinned lady. So get it together. That's what I want to tell some of these rappers. And guess what? I have no problem with preference. You have a right to have your own preference, but I shouldn't have to be ridiculed because of your preference. That's all. I have my preferences too, but I don't have to ridicule someone. I'm sorry, Rashida. I make it get carried away sometimes. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, you personally go right ahead. I understand. Trust me. So a part of dark skin activism, I actually had a show back in about 2013 called A Dark Skinned Woman's Revenge after my play. It was for a station, Get Live Radio, down in Clearwater, Florida. And I was speaking about the topics were really about black male entertainers who were discriminatory towards dark skinned women. So I had been doing this for a long time. It was nothing new. It was just that somehow, I don't know how that happened, I still can't explain it to this day, the post went viral all over the place, and it was just like crazy all over the world. And but that's the backdrop to that. So also another thing that I've been doing is counseling dark-skinned people and light-skinned people, white people, anybody that has a person of a dark skin tone in their family. They would email me and they would basically ask me for my counsel and my mentorship, and I have been doing this for a long time, for years. So there was this one particular young lady who I had been pretty much counseling for about a year. And she came to me one day. She's dark skinned. She was dating a black man. The black man, he left her for a non-dark skinned woman. She was madly in love with him, and then he came back. He kept coming back, basically using her. And sometimes people need somebody to vent to that's not going to pass judgment on them. I'm that person because I understand how it is. I get it. So she came to me one day, and she said, Rashida, did you see Kendrick Lamar's new fiance? And I said, no, because I'm from the 1990s. I grew up in the 90s. He wasn't out then. I listened to conscious people like the Fugees, Foxy Brownie, look. I was from the 90s era. I did not listen to his music. So she told me to go Google him. So I Googled him, and I see pictures, and I just, without thinking, I just went and said, like I always do. It was just a regular, normal day. This was not a PR ploy, any of that. It was completely organic based off of what someone had came and told me. And she knew that I was not going to hold back. She knew I was going to say what I had to say. And I said it, and that was the end of that. Next thing I know, I wake up and people are just going insane. And I was like, what? It was shocking to me because I'm looking like I've been talking about this. He's not the first one. He's like in a long line of, and I know we see people talking about this whole thing about entertainers and the discrimination of dark skin on the internet. I've been doing this for years. It was nothing new to me to do this. So I was like shocked when people, they just went crazy. Like I still have people that contacted me that are in my inbox that I have not even was able to respond. Like it's crazy. All of my Facebook pages, I apologize to y'all if I never responded. I just got it was complete pandemonium. So that's how that started out. It was just from her telling me to go look, and I have my frame of mind. I said what I said, and that was the end of it. Because another thing too, I want to say, when I realized that he had a song called "The Blacker the Berry," and I actually, my editor for A Dark Skin Woman's Revenge, the book, he told me, he said, you need to write an essay about explaining why you said what you said in regards to Kendrick Lamar. So I actually wrote a full detailed explanation in A Dark Skin Woman's Revenge. But the short of it is this: when I found out that one of his albums or one of his songs is entitled "The Blacker the Berry," a lot of people do not understand the origin of the Blacker the Berry, and I'm very offended by that. They think that it came from Tupac Shakur. It came from a book written by a man named Wallace Thurman. The book is called "The Blacker the Berry." This book was written in 1929, not during the era of the 90s, not during 2016, 15, in 1929. The man titled the book "The Blacker the Berry." Everyone should read that book. The book was about the protagonist in the book, a dark-skinned young lady named Emma Lou Harris. I believe that's her last name. Her first name is Emma Lou. Her mom was bright-skinned. The short of the story is that she was basically ridiculed her entire life for being dark-skinned. In education, she went to college. The black women shunned her from different organizations because she was too dark. She went to Harlem, New York, couldn't get jobs. The men in her life treated her bad. Please read that. In fact, Wallace Thurman, that's my second hero. Kola Booth and Wallace Thurman. Wallace Thurman was before his time, the father of the dark skin movement. That man wrote about this way back in 1929. Groundbreaking work. And so when I saw that this man, you up here calling a piece of your work the Blacker the Berry, did you read this book? Do you understand the oppression of the dark skinned black? I was super offended. I was like really pissed after that. I'm like, this guy is he thinking about what he's doing? You're sitting here capitalizing off of a book based off of a dark-skinned woman's oppression, and then you're not living what you're speaking about. And come on. The hypocrisy in that, to me, was appalling. And to this day, it's still shocking to me because I at least feel that you have a responsibility to come out after all the oppression that the dark-skinned woman has been through, starting with slavery. Let's be honest about this. The people that came over here in slavery, they were dark-skinned. They were dark-skinned. I would challenge anybody to show me some information, because I'm always welcome to look at research and see if there's something to refute what I've studied. I'm always open to that. But as far as we know, we can say that most of the people that came over here during slavery were dark-skinned, and they went through pure hell. Pure hell. And so for you to name a song or a piece of creative work after a book that was written about the oppression of a dark-skinned woman, to me, it's beyond disrespectful. I can't. So it's just like, that's where I was coming from with my frame of thinking at the time. And to be quite frank with you, I still feel the same way. Nothing's changed.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to have to get the book.
Please. But anybody that's talking about dark skin, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to say something because something just came to me. I know we're talking about women, but I also want to say that there's a lot of men that get ridiculed for being dark as well.
Right, absolutely.
A lot of things that we experience, they go through it as well. Like, as you were talking about your family, I thought about how my husband, he would get teased by his family and, put down as well. So I just wanted to also just, say that and to just put that out there.
There was just to piggyback off of what you're, just to real quickly piggyback off of what you just said about black men and darkism. There was a Cornell study, and there's a bunch of studies, but this one sticks out to me. There was a Cornell study that proved that the darker you are, the more likely you are to get the death penalty. And so they actually did research on this and found that 24% of light-skinned men got the death penalty as opposed to 57% of dark-skinned black men. And this is why dark-skinned activism is so important to me on an economic level. I call it systemic economic darkism because it impacts your economics. It impacts your chances. It impacts the politics of who gets what, when, and how much skin tone. And again, the scholarly colorism studies prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt. So for the people that have said to me, and they're still saying it, they're saying, what the hell is a dark-skinned activist? You must understand that the research backs up a need for a dark-skinned activist because of the socioeconomic impact of being dark-skinned.
Awesome point. Woo. I love you. Can I say that? I love you.
Oh, thank you. I love y'all too. I love y'all with all my heart. You know what? Let me just say this here. I know I'm talking, but to me, it's also a human right too, because I think that human beings, I think we all. I'm just going to kind of veer off here a little bit into talking about this whole situation of capitalism and inequality. I think that a lot of this stems from social and economic inequality. And I feel, people say I'm crazy for this, that everybody should be equal. That's just how I feel. Nobody should be mistreated. Thank God for Dr. Neely Fuller. I got to shout this man out. I love this man because he, like no one else, has talked about this concept of producing justice. Please check this man out. And he is so on point that every human being deserves justice. We deserve to be treated equally. And that's really at the heart of what I do. It's about human rights. It's about why is one group of people treated differently than another. There was also a prison study on females done by, I believe it was Villanova University. A lady named Jill Viglione, Lance Hannon, and Robert DeFina. These scholars did a study, and they found that I believe it was 12%. The bottom line is dark-skinned women serve more prison time than their non-dark-skinned counterparts. And anybody, you don't believe what I'm saying? Go do the research. It's right there. So it's all these things when we start to look at the economic disparities, the social disparities. It's not fair at the end of the day. Why can't we all be equal? We're all born human beings. Why can't we all be equal? That's the problem that I really have with this. I have to fight for, and I'm pretty sure y'all can relate to this. Everything that nothing's been a cakewalk for me. I have to fight for every single thing. I mean, struggling claw. And if I didn't fight for it, and it's harder if you're dark. It's harder if you're dark. People know that this is true. So for me, I'm tired of saying that. I don't want to see these dark-skinned kids, white kids, light-skinned. But the thing is, the dark-skinned ones are always treated the worst. So I don't want to see them grow up, the next generation grow up, and not have economic opportunities to be whatever they want to be because somebody going, oh, you too dark. This not only happens in America. It's also in Asia. It's also in India. You know, darkism is worldwide. You know, and so all over the globe, it's about a question of fairness. Oh, excuse me, I'm saying fair. Oh, my God. But y'all know what I mean. No pun intended. It's about equality. That's really what it's about at the end of the day. That's what I want. I just went to Tucson, Arizona, and when I was out there, I did my show out there, the Dark Skin Activist Tour, and I'm telling you, the majority of people that I saw homeless in Tucson, Arizona were dark-skinned. I could go on and on. Hello? Uh-oh.
No, it's Andrew.
You got disconnected.
No, it's Andrew.
Hello? Hello? Hello?